Good morning, everyone. Sia, ngicela ungiflagele i-agenda.
Okay, Chair, just a minute.
Good morning, Honorable Chair.
Good morning, Honorable Carl. Bab Gasa, switch off your video. Sia, are you able to? Oh, okay. Sia,
Chair,
uyisusile.
Chair, ndifuna ndifaka kakuhle on the actual agenda thing.
Okay.
Just
Yes.
uthe wa right kodwa kwi-flu, Chair.
My flu is refusing, Shem. I
Hey,
no longer know what type of flu am I having.
hey. Sovuma Chair, yilwa.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Carl. There is just a bad flu.
Yeah, I know there is. I've escaped it until now. I hope I will manage. But my wife became very ill.
No, speedy recovery to her. Wish her well.
No,
Yeah, no.
she's fine now. She recovered, but it took longer than usual. I think that's what you are experiencing also.
Yeah, no. Apparently this week it's the second week now.
Yeah,
If I'm-
that's long. Yeah.
Week.
I'm trying to get hold of Jake's Bangian so that we can sort out issues of audio as well.
And them sharing their thing.
Yes, Chair, I'm trying. But I spoke to the CEO earlier, but let me just call him again. They say I must just give them about 3 minutes, Chair. They will come in and then we sort out those issues. I think we still have time.
No, yeah. Siphethwe uwe nabo. Mina ndi apha nje kwi-process.
So do you want me to keep this on now? I think they're coming. Let me remove it so that we can allow them. Then I will fight it back.
Okay, no problem. Upmathabat.
Yeah, some touch and I.
Okay, sure.
Sure. Chick Sport Room, good morning.
Morning, Sia.
Yeah, I can hear you quite well, CEO. Can you flight the presentation from your side? I've given you permission to do that. Or are you going to be using a different laptop to flight and then you talk from the boardroom? That person can also join quickly so that we do that. Okay, there we go. Okay. Skip for now. So, CEO, are you all going to be in the same boardroom?
Yes, Sia, we are all in the boardroom. Our presenter is here. Judge will be remote and a couple of other colleagues, but the presenters are in the boardroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If they can also join maybe now before we start, so that if there's any issue with audio on judge's side and so forth, and the other colleagues, we can sort that out now.
For sure. Thank you, Sia.
Okay. Yeah, your audio is quite clean. I can hear you quite well.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there we go. The presentation. I think put it on slideshow. Sign in to get started with Office. Office must wait. Skip for now.
Set. I close it. Yeah. Come down. Put it on slideshow. Come down. No, down there.
You can also go up. CEO.
We still have about 7 minutes. I think their chair, their Microsoft or thing, maybe license issues and so forth, is giving them problems. It's asking them for them to log in. So the IT person will know how to bypass that, or they can accept the free licensing trial for a month, and then because it's prompting them to log in first. But I'm sure the IT gentleman there is better placed to bypass that when they want to put it as a slideshow.
Okay. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Find yourself. Good to see that you are all healed and no longer ill.
Not entirely out of the clear. This flu just refuses to let go of me. Today I woke up with my noses blocked and I could feel as if I'm having a heartburn. I think something in my chest.
Yeah, no, I never miss the flu shot, ever.
But you sound like you're blocked. Or is it, I haven't spoken to you in a while.
No, I'm not blocked. It's just, it's very cold down here.
Yeah, in Cape Town.
Yes,
I'm told it's raining.
it is. It's terrible.
Ooh, I feel for you guys.
Yeah, tomorrow we've got that, it's almost the budget tomorrow.
You must tell Sokopo to come to Cape Town dressed well, warm.
Yes, bring jackets and raincoats.
Bring all those heavy jackets. Babkasa.
Morning, Chair.
All right, Babkasa.
Ngiright kakhulu mama, ngiright kakhulu. Siyabonga.
So sekapa.
Yebo ngiseKapa.
Hayi ube warm Babkasa, le flu yimbi.
Hayi, asethemba ukuthi uzoba right nawe soon.
Asithembe njalo ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga, siyabonga.
Good morning, all. Good morning, Chair. Sia, please check whether our presentation is flighting now.
It's flighting, CEO, but can you make it a slideshow?
Yes. Is it not on slideshow?
Not on my side. Chair, on your side.
I'm seeing Jig's presentation and some few slides. It's like I'm seeing the laptop screen.
Yeah, it's on slideshow now, but can you hide the next slide option on your right?
Oh, it's got the mirror effect. Okay, take that out.
Yeah, so that it's
When he takes it out, we're back to the laptop arrangement. So he must take it back in.
Now?
the easiest one of the CEO is that one at the bottom there. You see that one next to the percentage. When you click that one, it just populates it as a slideshow automatically instead of trying to select the option of showing you the next slide and so forth. There at the bottom, yes, that one. Hey, technology.
Is it better?
100% correct now. You can remove it for now.
Drop it down. Let's drop it.
Yeah, we'll put it when it's required. Morning. You're muted, Judge. Morning, Judge. Can you test your audio?
Good morning, colleagues. I see that Madam Chair is already present with many of her members. We pay our respects to them, and good morning, everyone.
Your audio is clear, Judge. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Is that Mr. Mtomjeni?
Yes, Judge. It's me. I was just trying to ensure your audio is clear. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, members. Good morning, Judge Cameron.
Good morning, Chair.
We can then start with the meeting. We're supposed to start at 10. It's one past 10 now. And I see we do have a quorum to be able to start. We need 6 members to be present, and we are 8.
Recording in progress.
So therefore, we can proceed with the meeting. As I welcomed everyone to this meeting, and let me also thank Honorable Engelbrecht for taking the portfolio committee through last week with members. I have been down with a very bad flu. I'm still not yet out of the clear on it. I'm hopeful that by next week I should be extremely better. But just make sure, colleagues, especially those who are in Cape Town, make sure that we keep warm and take those immune boosters. The flu that is going around is extremely bad one. We wouldn't want anyone in our portfolio committee going down on flu. So I hope everyone is well and has rested and is gearing up to tomorrow's budget speech by the Minister of Finance. And those who are traveling, kindly do travel safe. Sia, before we go to apologies, members, this is a proposed agenda for today's meeting. We are receiving a briefing by the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, which is led by Judge Cameron, on its second and third quarter performance report for 2024-2025 financial year. So this is the only item for today's meeting. Can I kindly have a mover and a seconder to the agenda?
I'll
move, Chair.
Comrades,
We seem to be competing. I'm moving, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Honorable Carl. So I'll take Honorable Engelbrecht as a seconder. I had also Clote speaking as well at the background. So thank you so much, colleagues. We'll then move to apologies. Sia, do we have any apologies that we've received?
Morning, Chair. Morning to the meeting. We have an apology, Chair, from Honorable Daniels, who's attending another meeting that is clashing with this meeting. We also have an apology from the Minister, Chair. The Minister is representing South Africa in the United Nations Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice in Vienna. And the Deputy Minister, one apology from the DM as well. The Deputy Minister is attending cabinet committees this morning, Chair. That's it from my side, Chair.
Thank you so much, Sia. Those are the apologies, colleagues. We do not have any apology outside what Sia would have given us. The nature of this meeting is that apologies should be forwarded so that then they should be read. So the apologies are noted. We can therefore move to the third item of the agenda, briefing by JICS on their second and third quarter performance report for 2024-2025 financial year. We haven't met with JICS on their reports in a long time. The only time we met with them, I think, some time to get HR issues and investigations that they would have had. And we are yet to meet, and we had to postpone the bail fund matter due to a commitment and unavailability of Judge Cameron, which would be later scheduled on the 3rd of June for the portfolio committee to get an update report on the implementation of the bail fund, on how it's going to be processed or how it should be processed so that members can make an input to it. So Judge Cameron, you can take us through the second and third quarter report of JICS. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As I indicated earlier, we are honoured at JICS to be subjected to the rigorous scrutiny of yourself and your committee, and we're pleased to be here. If you don't mind me slipping into my medicalist mode, Madam Chair, I'm very sorry about your severe encounter with flu, and I do hope that you took the flu vaccine. That's my sermon for the morning about antiretrovirals for our whole country and about vaccinations, Madam. And then I would like to ask my colleagues who are on the boardroom, one of them, Ms. Thembelihle Mhlanzi Ngema, will be doing the actual presentation of our 2 quarterly reports later, but I would ask our CEO, who is present with Ms. Ngema and other colleagues in our Pretoria HQ, to do the introductions first, and then I would ask Madam Ngema if she would then proceed, and she would ask for a screen sharing from Mr. Mthonjeni. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Judge, and good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable members. I'm Vic Missa. I think I'm known to all members. In this boardroom here at the head office, we have our esteemed colleagues, Madam Ngema, who is the head of our legal division. She will be taking us through the presentation this morning. But I'd also like to take this opportunity of also introducing the head of our legal division's investigations and inspections, Mr. Leonard D'Souza, who is also known to the Portfolio Committee. We are also ably assisted by our head of IT, Mr. Madiki Zela, who is also present in this boardroom. We have colleagues on the platform. They are the acting CFO, Mr. Chaliza, who's on board, and also representing the regional services, Madam Sibuta in absence, is Mr. Sibanyoni, who's also present on the platform. Thank you so much, Judge. I will hand over to Madam Ngema to take us through the presentation.
Thank you, CEO. Greetings to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the honorable members of the committee, inspecting judge, CEO, and colleagues. I will be presenting to you the JICS Quarter 2 and Quarter 3 performance report. The presentation will cover Part A of the report, which has inspections, investigations, complaints, and mandatory reporting. Then Part B will cover the regional directorate, and then on C we have our human resources. Finances are on Part D, and IT on E, and lastly it would be communications on Part F. If we may move to slide 5 so that we can start with the presentation on the inspections. Thank you. JICS conducts both announced and unannounced inspections. In terms of the National Inspections Plan, which is approved by the CEO at the beginning of a performance cycle, JICS had planned to conduct 44 inspections in the second quarter and 24 inspections in the third quarter. The third quarter's numbers of inspection is always fewer due to a VALA period that takes place during the third quarter. All scheduled inspections that JICS had scheduled in terms of the NIP were all conducted and the reports were rated. Furthermore, JICS conducted 8 unannounced inspections on the second quarter and 21 unannounced inspections in the third quarter. A total of 97 inspections were conducted in both the second and third quarter. That a number includes both announced and unannounced inspections. And on our, still on the inspections, 7 centers were rated as good, The following centers had previously been rated as satisfactory, but there were some improvement in the center and they attained a good ratings. Those centers were Umzinto in KZN, Durban Juvenile in KZN, and Toho Yando. Most of the centers that were rated as unsatisfactory was because the inspectors had found some structural defects, overcrowding, and poor conditions amongst other things in those centers. One of the centers that was rated unsatisfactory is the Stenger Correctional Center, and this center has been rated unsatisfactory in 3 consecutive inspections, and Mapumulo declined from a satisfactory rating to an unsatisfactory rating. On our investigations, JICS mandated a total of 24 investigations in the 3rd and 2nd quarter. Of these 24 investigated incidents, 15 of them concerned suicides. If you turn on to page 13 and 14 of the quarter 3 report, it lists all the investigated incidents, and page 14 and 15 of the quarter 2 report list these investigated incidents. The rate of suicide in our correctional facilities is concerning for JICS. Most of the suicide are by hanging or overdose of medication. This is due that inmates are given medication in bulk and then they use it to commit suicide. JICS is looking closely at suicide, attempted suicide, and sexual violation as one of the thematic areas for this performance cycle. If we can move on to our complaints. JICS complaints unit received a total of 431 complaints in the 2nd and 3rd quarter. Of the 431 complaints received in both the quarters, assaults were the prevalent complaint. There were 163 assaults inmate on inmate, 52 officials on inmates, and 15 sexual assaults. The number of sexual violations reported to our complaints units may not be the true reflection of what goes down in the centers. So we are encouraging our ICCVs to inform the inmates to do report these incidents when they do occur. 7 of the incidents reported of attempted suicide in the 2nd quarter, and 8 were reported in the 3rd quarter. This means that there were 15 attempted suicide in the correctional facilities during the 2nd and 3rd quarter. That is why we have flagged this as a concern for JICS. JICS complaints unit also had referred few matters which we deem it that it will be expeditiously finalized if dealt with by the ICCVs who are at call phase. During the 2nd and 3rd quarter, a total of 133 complaints were referred to Directorate Regional Management. And lastly, on part B of the report, it's our mandatory reporting. DCS continues to report deaths, use of force, mechanical restraints, and segregations to JICS. On the last month of the 3rd quarter, the Correctional Services Amendment Act came into operation, and DCS started to report the additional incidents that are provided for in Section 95D of the amended Correctional Services Act, that is assault inmate on inmate, assault official on inmate, sexual violations, hunger strike, inhumane treatment, escapes, attempted suicide, dishonest or corrupt activities. During these quarters, we have received 68 reports of unnatural death, 253 natural deaths, 3,429 segregations, but only 6 appeals on segregations that we dealt with during the second and third quarter. We had received 31 reports on mechanical restraints, and there were no appeals that were brought to the inspecting judge for mechanical restraints, and there were 262 in total incidents of the use of force in the correctional facilities. We can now look at our directorate management region, which is on part C of the reports. There was a total of 194 ICCVs during the second and third quarter who attended to inmates' complaints and requests. These ICCVs produced 26,865 records of consultation with inmates in various centers. Of 12,375 complaints dealt with by ICCVs, 11,059 were successfully resolved during the quarter 3. ICCVs also conducted site visits, as it is recorded on page 27 to 28 and page 25 of the quarter 2 and quarter 3 reports respectively. All the findings made by the ICCVs per region during their site visits are recorded on those pages. The most prevalent complaints dealt with by ICCVs were requests for healthcare services with 1,887 and social worker services with 1,361. ICCVs also dealt with complaints and requests from female inmates, which were 447. Complaints ranged from shortage of sanitary towels and toiletries. And JICS on Women's Day in the previous year, on the second quarter, did visit different regions and provided some of these sanitary towels and toiletries for female inmates. If we may move to slide 16, dealing with the VC meetings. The regions of JICS held a total of 74 visitors committee meetings, 37 in each quarter. Several stakeholders relevant to correctional environment are invited in these meetings. The stakeholders like the Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Health, Legal Aid South Africa, NICRO, and others attend these meetings to discuss correctional issues and facilitate resolution of complaints tabled at the VC meetings. Any complaint that remains unresolved at the VC meetings is then referred to the inspecting judge to deal with it. And I would like us to move to the state patients on slide 17. There were 245 state patients at the end of the quarter 2, which increased to 264 during the third quarter. The Eastern Cape Management Region had the highest number of declared state patients in their facilities, which was 114 during the third quarter. JICS is engaging the Department of Health and has also approached the Chief Justice on the plight of the state patients. On slide 18, we have the non-nationals. There was a total of 23,965 non-nationals in our facilities during the second quarter of the previous performance cycle, which increased by 810 in the third quarter, resulting in our correctional centers incarcerating a total of 24,775 non-nationals at the end of December 2024. Of these 24,775 non-nationals, 1,124 of them are serving life sentence. Gauteng incarcerate about 13,371 non-nationals, which is more than 50% of the total number of the non-nationals in the country. Most of the non-nationals are from our neighboring countries like Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Lesotho. If we can turn on to page slide 22, Mr. De Souza, dealing with the remand detainees with bail less than 1,000 rand. As at 31 December 2024, there were 2,127 remand detainees who could not afford a bail of less than 8,000 rand. Gauteng had the highest number with 586. Another concern for JICS is a number of remand detainees who have not been tried for more than 2 years. As at the end of third quarter, there were 3,859 remand detainees awaiting trial for more than 2 years. I'm not going to dwell much on this, as the inspecting judge will be briefing the portfolio committee on the bail fund for those remand detainees with a bail of less than 8,000 rand. We will move to part C of our report dealing with our human resources. JICS is operating under approved and funded structure of 86 permanent positions that excludes all ICCV's positions and contract positions. JICS recommended an organizational startup structure of 477 positions, which the Minister of Public Services concurred with. 407 of these positions will be core activities and 74 non-core activities. About 179 positions are not funded as yet. JICS is engaging the National Treasury on this. As of 31 December 2024, 290 positions were filled, which represent 60.8% of the 477 positions as per the structure concurred by DPSA. And if we may tend to look at our employment equity on slide 26 to 28, JICS has 4 senior managers on level 13 to 14. The managers consist of 1 Indian male, 1 white male, and 2 African women. JICS middle management has 8 officials, 3 of which are black males, 1 colored male, 1 white male, 2 black females, and 1 colored female. There are 79 filled permanent positions, 13 non-permanent, and 198 ICCVs, which gives us a total of 290 workforce of JICS. In terms of JICS employment equity, including persons with disability, in percentages as of 31 December 2024 is as follows. There are 28.27% black males, 54.13 black females, 4.83 colored males, 8.26% colored females, 0.34 Indian male, 1.38% Indian females, 0.69 white males, 0.69% white females. And in terms of people with disability, it's 0.69 males and 0.34% females. And with regards to our finance on slide 31, part D of the report, JICS was allocated 114,607,000 for the financial year 2024-2025. As at the end of quarter 3, JICS had spent 63,996,268 rand 98 cents. Commitments totaled 2,489,828 rands 48 cents. Budget that was available as at 31 December 2024 was 48,120,902 rand 54 cents. The overall expenditure was 858% at the end of the third quarter, and the targeted expenditure had been 75%. The underspending was attributed to Section 42 transfers, which were still recorded and accounted for under DCS. With regards to the leased properties that JICS is renting, JICS is renting a total of 4 properties. One is housing the headquarters and the Northern Management Region in Centurion. The second one is in the Western Cape, housing the regional office in the Western Cape. The third is in the Central Management in Free State, housing Central Management Region, and the fourth in KZN, housing the regional office. The office in the Eastern Cape is temporarily accommodated in the Department of Justice. And JICS is spending 549,289.11 cents on these leased properties annually. If we may look at our information technology, JICS has provided ICCVs with desktop and had 105 desktop installed and set up in various centers in the country. JICS is working vigorously with SITA in setting up JICS' own PERSAL, PERS, and LOGIS systems. And with regards to our communications, during the third quarter, JICS handled 80 external communications and about 52 internal communications were issued during the third quarter. JICS also has an X account, formerly known as Twitter, which is not interactively due to lack of capacity of personnel to handle those social media accounts. That brings me to the end of the JICS Quarter 2, Quarter 3 performance reports for the performance cycle 2024-2025. Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Madam Ngema. Judge, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Ngema. Madam Chair, we are all available and eager to attempt to answer your and your committee members' questions.
Thank you so much, Judge Cameron, for the shortest presentation. That speaks to both the second and the third quarter reports. I thought they would take at least approximately 45 minutes to conclude both, but we do appreciate and we welcome the report done by Mrs. Ngema. Members, any clarities, questions to the report that we've received? Noting hands, Honorable Carl, Honorable Engelbrecht, Honorable Babgasa, you'll be the third one.
Please note me, Chair.
Honorable Sokopo, kindly try to raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm also struggling to raise my hand.
Mrs. Ngaba, who's also struggling to raise their hands? Members, so that I note. Okay, for now, we'll end with Mrs. Ngaba. Honorable Carl will be the start, second Engel, Babgasa, Honorable Sokopo, and Mrs. Ngaba will be the last one for now, until we can get those who want to speak. Honorable Carl, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and let me thank Mr. Justice Cameron and also the rest of the delegation from JICS that gave us a very good presentation. Just as an aside, Honorable Chair, this is the kind of way in which presentations should be done, because obviously one works from the assumption that we as members of Parliament do read reports, and therefore not the whole report need to be presented. So thanks for an excellent presentation. I've got a number of issues that I would like to address, but let me first of all make a general comment. The work of JICS, to a very large extent, is not even so much about the visits that you pay and the work that you do, but it is about the fact that JICS exists, that you are always present in the minds also of the various members of the Department of Correctional Services, and therefore it keeps them on their toes. So it is to a very large extent what you prevent rather than what you are investigating once it has happened. And therefore, the existence of JICs is absolutely critical. I speak, Honourable Chair, from experience, having been a prisoner myself, and I know how the presence of those like the International Red Cross, and at that stage, the then MP Helen Suzman, in terms of potential visits to the facilities where we as political prisoners were incarcerated, prevented some of the worst excesses. So I think we need to take into consideration what JICs avoids from happening. But I do have a number of questions, as I've said. I would like to understand why there is this division between announced and unannounced visits and what the purpose of each of these categories are. From us as members of Parliament, we know that our oversight work is served usually better by unannounced visits rather than announced visits. So I'd like to understand what the purpose of these two categories are and how they each serve the work that JICs is doing. Furthermore, Honourable Chair, I would like to understand the full set of category of evaluations that is used to decide that a facility is a satisfactory facility in terms of the conditions and the treatment of prisoners, and an unsatisfactory facility. I think it's important for us to understand what JICs look out for when you make that particular valuation and decide which facility fits that category or not. Then I also would like to express a concern, Chair, about the high level of unfunded positions within the organogram of JICs. I think it is agreed in terms of your presentation also that the various positions that have been approved are needed and that your work requires those positions. So it is for me a matter of concern that there is this problem of unfunded positions still within that organogram. I would like to express my appreciation, although we do not get a report today on that, on the issue of the bail fund for those prisoners who have bail under 1,000 rands. We've had some extremely sad instances during our oversight visits of seeing young prisoners who are being kept inordinate amounts of time, waiting trial prisoners in prison for really very, very small amounts of money. And the calculation between what it costs to keep a prisoner in prison and them not being able to pay these small amounts of bail just honestly doesn't make any sense. Then I would like to understand the difference and how you determine it always between unnatural deaths and natural deaths, because I think there must be a concern that it would be in the interest of the Department of Correctional Services and the various wardens to try and get as many deaths, even those that could be classified as natural. So what is the criteria you implement to come to that conclusion, and how fail-safe is that particular criteria? I would like to hear on a particular issue that had been in the news recently, and that was a sad death due to assault in the Mangaung Correctional Facility, which I do think the Department of Correctional Services had been handling quite well, and I think that the Commissioner of Corrections, in terms of his intervention and also publicly dealing with that death and making it clear that the stories that had been told by the officials of the department were unbelievable. But to what extent has JICS been involved in also assessing what happened in that very sad instance? And can JICS tell us whether there is some correlation between, on the one hand, these deaths and assaults taking place in facilities that are privatized facilities or so-called outsourced facilities? And is there a higher instance or lower instance in that case compared to the other facilities that are fully run by the Department of Correctional Services without the privatization model, which I personally believe is a disaster and should be gotten rid of totally? And then lastly, Chair, I'd like to understand why it is even possible that prisoners are issued with bulk medication, because it is an obvious way of committing suicide. And again, from my own experience when I was a prisoner and also when I was awaiting trialist and a detainee, usually every possible effort had been made by those authorities to prevent bulk medication from being issued. Is this because of a lack of staff, or what is the situation? And then lastly, what are the consequences, if there is any consequence, proposals from the side of JICS with regards to the continuation of reports of prisons that are in an unacceptable condition? And I presume that when JICS make a report about a prison being in an unacceptable condition, it also makes a report with proposals on what needs to be addressed and how it should be done. And if for the third or fourth time you continue to have a situation where these prisons continue to be in an unacceptable situation, what consequence management is being implemented in order to try and get the situation finally corrected? Thank you, Honourable Chair. Those are the questions that I have.
Thank you, Honourable Carl Engel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to leave my camera off because I think I've got sometimes sketchy internet reception where I am located presently. I just want to thank the Inspectorate for the presentation, sweet and short and to the point. As always, it is a pleasant experience engaging with JICS at all time. Thank you very much to the judge and his team. I think I've been covered by Honourable Nehaus in relation to the inmate death at the BCC facility in Bloemfontein. But then I have two other questions, so I'll try to keep it short. Firstly, in relation to the state patients, and we all know that correctional facilities are not really designed or rigged to handle state patients, and correctional facility, the correctional officers don't have, I think, the required training to deal with state patients. So what responses did you receive from the Department of Health and the Office of the Chief Justice following your engagements regarding the ongoing challenges relating to state patients in correctional facilities, particularly in relation to their placement, their treatment and delays in court processes or psychological facility transfers? Then secondly, My personal experience was that since 2022, number of requests from inmates for medical treatment, and this includes urgent cases like such as individuals suffering from diabetes, not receiving insulin, and other matters. Now, the Department of Correctional Services very often attributes this to staff shortages and lack of budget. Is this consistent with your observations during inspections at facilities, or have you identified additional factors contributing to the increase for medical care requests and the reported delays in any such treatments? That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Engel, Babkasa.
Thank you, Chairperson. Okay. Thank you for the presentation by Jakes. I'll just need a clarity on the few things that are as follows. The extent of neglect and degradation and abuse uncovered in the report demands more than observation. It requires action. We also need a long-term strategy, not hypothetical reaction. So now, what are the key systemic barriers preventing JICS from expanding its inspection, reaching beyond 45 centers evaluated? What legal or policy tool does JICS currently have or require enforcing compliance following poor inspection outcomes? The issue of overcrowding is a human rights emergency. So places like Krugersdorp Correctional Center is operating at 288.19% capacity, nearly triple design limit, while Mangaung is at 160.75%. These numbers are abstract. They are not, actually they translate a human living condition. They translate to human living condition, increased violence and health risk. And JICS highlighted these problems repeatedly, yet the situation worsens each year. With overcrowding comes the breakdown of all other system sanitations, healthcare, security, and rehabilitation. So I think JICS must play a louder, more radical role in pushing for sentencing reform, parole efficiency, and alternative detention strategies. So the other question that I think I will have, has JICS issued any formal directives, like legal opinions or public statements demanding urgent reduction of overcrowding? What action has JICS taken to proposed regarding centers consistently operating above 150 capacity? In light of the chronic overcrowding in our correctional facilities, will JICS consider recommending a reallocation of a portion of the correctional services budget towards education and social development initiatives, particularly at a grassroots level, as a long-term strategy to reduce incarceration rates? I would like to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Babkasa. Honorable Sokopo.
Thank you, Chair. I would also ask to have my video switched off. Chair, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. The first one is on the unannounced. I see, Chair, that in Q2, there was 8 unannounced from 48 supposed visits. In Q3, there are 21 unannounced as opposed to the 24 visits. Now, it makes me to ponder and wonder what would have informed the decision to increase the unannounced visit in Q3. I'm sure there is a reason. And if there is a reason, what is the output? Because we don't get it. What is the output of that exercise? What have informed it, and what have they achieved on doing this? The increase from on the unannounced. The second one, Chair, is the question they raise about the RDs. Something is not clear for me there. Are they saying that there are RDs that are incarcerated for more than 2 years without going to court, or are they just generally saying that there is a number of RDs that are incarcerated for more than 2 years? Could it be that they don't appear in court for 2 years, or they are just making the point that you find RDs to be incarcerated for more than 2 years? Probably they feel that it is not fair to the RDs because it sounds as if they have already started a sentence without being found guilty. I just wanted to get that. A question on the HR that they are raising. I am specific in asking this question. In their senior managers, are all the people that they have employed ticking the box to be senior managers? Did they not employ a person or persons that do not qualify to be a senior manager, and who later got to have the qualification after they've been appointed? I need a direct response to that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sokopo. Mrs. Ngaba.
Thank you, Chair. Two things. I would like to support my colleagues in the question of scheduled versus unannounced visits. So it seems to me you could have done the same number of visits on the same dates, just don't tell DCS. Why is it that JIC seems to favor the scheduled as opposed to the unannounced? And then the second question, I see that in Q2, the inspecting judge did not have any inspections. In Q3, he had 2. So the question is twofold. I think on the one hand, I would like the inspecting judge to just comment on, should the bulk of your role be actually inspecting prisons? If not, why not? And then the second thing is, so I had assumed that the reported inspections were by the inspecting judge. So if you've got 44, but it's not the judge who does those inspections, what counts as a reportable inspection? If it's not the judge, who is it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ngaba. Any members who didn't raise their hands before? Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Muela.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And greetings to all the honorable members, and also greetings to Judge Cameron and the team from JICS. Let me also engage the report. According to the observations, Chair, on average, 100% plus inmates die in incarcerations per quarter. And this is a very alarming number of unnatural deaths which are occurring in our correctional centers. So this there is also the number of reported assaults of inmates, which are also very high with regards to the presentation which was indicated here. And in terms of quarter 2 and quarter 3 for 24 and 45, it shows a continuous underspending on goods and services. And the reason offered for the underspending in section 42 items, which are still recorded under the Department of Correctional Services. So my questions, Chair, will be with regard to what is the implication for both inmates and officials of keeping state patients, psychiatric patients in correctional facilities, considering the safety aspects of mentally impaired individuals and their vulnerabilities to abuses and mistreatment. What are the conservations between Department of Correctional Services and the Department of Health in keeping such inmates in our correctional facilities? And my last question will be with regard to page 38 on quarter 3 report. It reads as follows: as per JIC's approved VC schedule and governance calendar, a total number of 37 meetings were held across the management areas. My question is, what is the nature of these meetings which were held? What informs the scheduling of these particular meetings? What is the need or a demand versus what has been approved, and based on which determination? So I think I will seek clarity based on those particular submission, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mwela. There is no other one. Thank you. Judge Cameron and your team, before you come in, I think also I'm covered by honorable members, especially Mrs. Ngaba, on the details of the inspections that would have done, and if you have done any, and what are the implications on that. And then my last part would be, after JICS has conducted these inspections in correctional facilities, and they received complaints from inmates, and when we've been doing oversights in most facilities where we would get complaints from inmates, they would tell us that they've interacted with JICS, or JICS will give a report in that oversight. They would have interacted with the matter, they are aware of what the inmates are raising. What becomes the action plan after I have received those complaints from inmates? So that is my clarity, my second clarity on the matter. Judge Cameron, you can come through to respond to clarities and questions that members have posed. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. And may I, with great respect, thank your members of your committee for the profundity and the difficulty of many of the issues that they've raised. These are, forgive me, matters that lie at the heart of JICS's concerns and actions. I'm going to ask Ms. Sabuta in due time, Mr. Sibanyone, who is the head of our KwaZulu-Natal region, is standing in for her. So I would ask Mr. Sibanyone, who has enormous experience in JICS, to explain why those meetings are convened that Mr. Mwela asked about. I'm going to answer myself in a moment about state patients, which Mr. Janhu Engelbrecht, Honourable, also raised with Honourable Mr. Mwela. I'm going to ask the CEO and Ms. Ngema to explain why we don't always do surprise visits. And I have got quite clear views on those. I've been doing inspections since I became a judge at the end of 1994, but I'd very much ask our CEO and Ms. Ngema and Mr. D'Souza, who reports to Ms. Ngema, to explain the theory of the practice of announced versus unannounced. The number of visits, I will ask that same trio, the CEO, Ms. Ngema and Mr. D'Souza, to answer Mr. Mzwanele Sokopo's question about that. I'm going to come back to the question of overcrowding, which the Honourable Mr. Gasa raised, and we thank Mr. Gasa for his injunction to us to be louder. We have the strength of your oversight and your critical input to us when we hear that kind of encouragement. Thank you. And then I'm going to ask Ms. Ngema and Mr. Sibanyoni and the CEO to talk about the absence of medical treatment. Is it to do, as Honourable Mr. Engelbrecht asked, is it lack of budget? Is this true? Why are there delays? Then I'm going to ask Mr. D'Souza, who is the head of our inspections and investigations, as you heard, to answer on rating categories. The CEO will answer on the unfunded positions. We are delighted that the Honourable Mr. Niehaus raises the issue of unfunded positions, because this is a matter that we have been pushing very much on. As you noted, Madam Chair, on Tuesday, the 3rd of June, and may I intersperse by thanking you and your committee for rearranging that. We will be reporting to you in full about the bail fund, but the point that the Honourable Mr. Niehaus raises is really a moral point. It's that these are prisoners of poverty, and our constitutional democracy should not have prisoners of poverty, and we will expand on that theme later. Mr. D'Souza, please would you answer Mr. Niehaus on the categorization, the taxonomy of natural and unnatural deaths? How do we know that? And I'm also going to ask Mr. D'Souza and Ms. Ngema to deal with the Honourable Niehaus's question of consequence management. I would say at the outset that the bill that will shortly be with this committee, Madam Chair, the JICS bill, we are going through its 24th iteration. The Minister referred us after the 23rd iteration, which we thought was the final one. DCS have asked for another powwow. We've been engaging with DCS since before I became inspecting judge, which was 5.5 years ago. And the bill will give JICS greater powers. At the moment, Madam Chair, honourable members, JICS has no power, no policy-making power, no executive power, no managerial input, no consequence management in saying you must charge X or Y, you have to prefer these charges against them. We are a voice, we have powers of reporting and inspecting and investigation, but nothing more. And I'm grateful that the committee realizes that and appreciates the salient importance of that. May I just come to some of the matters which are particularly, and Madam Chair, Honourable Ramolobeng, I think that also answers your question about the action plan. You hear that we've been there. So what do we do about it? And that's a question for every person holding public office in South Africa. What are you doing about it? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. And thank you that you asked JICS that as well. Can I answer a couple of things? The first I want to answer is about state patients. It is something that our CEO, I will ask him to come in on this, he has made this a campaign issue for JICS. And we have campaigned directly with the Department of Health. We have campaigned with Chief Justice Meyer, who has taken that issue on the 22nd of April, recently, to the heads of court meeting, who are going to convene a meeting with the departmental role players. We took the issue on his very first month to the incoming health ombud, the professor of surgery, Professor Taole Mokoena, and he has joined JICS. He is busy setting up a meeting with the Department of Health. May I say that the department has not been unresponsive. We got a long letter which I think I should share with you, Madam Chair, for you to circulate to your members, indicating what the Department of Health is trying to do. The fundamental problem, Madam Chair, is that there's a discretion in the statute. If you're a judicial officer, you've got a state patient, which is someone certified under the provisions of the Criminal Procedure Act to have serious mental disability, not to be able to stand trial, not to be able to understand proceedings, not to be responsible for the action. Why are you putting them in overcrowded prisons? This is the point that both Mr. Muela and Mr. Engelbrecht make. It is completely unacceptable. And the problem, which is one that I don't want to oversimplify for this committee, is that a mental facility under the Department of Health is overcrowded the moment the last bed is occupied. They will not take one extra person. We are running at overcrowding of more than a third. We've got 106,000 spaces in our prisons. We are running at 160,000 plus people. Why? You wouldn't send someone with any other serious health issues in. Why must the DCS, the warders are not trained, as has been pointed out by your members? So this is a matter of great distress to us, and I'll ask the CEO who has championed this issue to come in. Mr. Mzwanele Sokopo, you raise a sensitive issue. I thank you for doing so. I don't want to get personal about the issues. This happened before my time, but I take responsibility for the management of it. And the issue that happened was that there was an advert issued for the senior management position. I think, Mr. Sokopo, I'm not investigating your state of mind, sir, but I think this might be what you have in mind. In effect, and I'm fudging the issue, but the advertisement permitted some leeway, and the Public Service Commission, which I asked to investigate this and other issues, pulled us up about that. They said that you should improve your procedures, but they said to us, given the experience and the actual qualifications of the person in issue, the senior management official in person, it's okay for you to keep him in the post. So that's what we've done. But I take responsibility for that. I take responsibility for asking the Public Service Commission. Mr. Sokopo, if you asked for a direct answer, I hope I've given it. And I'm willing to engage with you on either this platform, or if you or Madam Chair want to write to me about it, we will make that obviously available. And clearly, the Public Service Commission report is a matter that we can submit to the committee. Can I just, for a moment before I turn over to the CEO, just to see, I want to go back to Mr. Gasa on overcrowding, and I thank you for your terminology, sir. Human rights emergency, a breakdown of all subsequent processes. Health, terrible, 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 terrible. In California, the Supreme Court of the United States ordered California, the state of California, to decongest its prisons. JIX has not been inactive. You asked us tough questions, Honourable Mr. Gasa. We have initiated litigation. Ons lappe geheim uit, Honourable Mr. Niehaus. When I last met Mr. Niehaus, we were speaking Afrikaans to each other. So we, in association with Lawyers for Human Rights, we have got a team of very powerful counsel, and put this issue before the High Court to say, how is it tolerable that we, as a self-respecting constitutional democracy, can have this intolerable overcrowding, where basically 60,000 people are being crammed in with 106,000 already. So thank you for asking us, and thank you for encouraging us to be louder. I can't see anything else that I should. Oh yes, no, Ms. Sorry, Ms. Naba, Ms. Naba, I saw your name listed as Ms. Kabelo Kobisa, but you asked about my inspections. I do inspections. I do salient inspections. I go back to inspections. I go on inspections as often as the CEO and Mr. D'Souza, who's in charge of the inspection roster, reporting to Ms. Ngema, asks me. If your implication is that I can do more, Honourable Ms. Nava, I concede that. I think I do a fair number of inspections at salient points, but if you want to press me further on that, I'm vulnerable to it and I'm willing to it. Thank you, CEO. May I hand over to you and the team?
Thank you, Judge. Judge, I think you requested Mr. Sibanyone to come in on the reasons for the VC and why is it so constituted, and maybe he should, if he's on board, maybe with your permission and the chair, to allow Mr. Sibanyone to just enlighten the portfolio committee on the constitution of a VC. Thank you. Mr. Sibanyone, please come in.
Thank you so much, CEO. Thank you. Greetings to everyone, Judge and the Honorable Chairperson, and the members of the Portfolio Committee. On behalf of JICS, I would like to respond to this question raised, and by prefacing it by making reference to the Act. The VC meeting, in fact, is established in terms of the Correctional Services Act. The Act entrusts the responsibility to the inspecting judge to establish these committees at various DCS management areas. These are committees that are sitting on quarterly basis. They are chaired by senior managers of Judicial Inspectorate, regional managers in particular. So, the committee is different representative of stakeholders, actually representative from different stakeholders with different or various skills that will actually be assisting in terms of actually dealing with issues of correctional services. So the primary focus of this particular committee is to discuss unresolved complaints of inmates and also systematic issues that actually we or the ICCVs have identified. ICCVs will table individual complaints of inmates. The complaints that have already been processed and that have already been tabled to the heads of centers. The committee itself is also having a mandate to actually interrogate and make recommendation on those particular complaints. So we engage on even investigations that have been conducted on that particular complaint and make recommendation to heads of centers or the Department of Correctional Services. So senior managers from a particular DCS management area is also part of those particular stakeholder, visitors committee meetings. So the very same committee, again, its function is also to promote community involvement. So all these issues that we are actually raising in our annual report, they are also, which is a visitors committee meeting. So there's an important role these committees that are playing in resolving those complaints of inmates individually and also solicit intervention from different stakeholders, members of representatives from different stakeholders to assist in resolving some of the matters. The committee is also a referral kind of structure wherein some of those issues that are tabled there that we are actually unable to resolve within that particular meeting, they are referred to the relevant stakeholders for intervention. So it's a very important legal constituted creature of the Act, wherein it also makes referrals to the inspecting judge for final decision on some of those matters that are unresolved and that which are falling within the mandate of Judicial Inspectorate. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Sebonione. Chair, I think there's two broad areas of a VC meeting. One, part A, is to deal with all the unresolved complaints that we have on a continuous basis from inmates, where this complaint could not be resolved by the ICCV, the heads of center, and some of our representatives from the complaints unit in JIGS. So it's then referred to a visitors committee meeting to deal with it at that level in order for us to find resolutions. I think that's part A. The part B of it is to bring along all our stakeholders. And I think this is critically important. All stakeholders within the justice cluster, bringing the Home Affairs, the Department of Health, the South African Legal Aid, on all areas that has nexus in the correctional environment to bring about resolutions, debates, and discussions on how do we take certain aspects forward and report accordingly to the inspecting judge and the minister accordingly. Now, some of the examples are state patients. So we discussed this with the Department of Health. We've exchanged ideas. We've brought in some provinces where the Department of Health has provided some training to officials in DCS who does not have that capacity of dealing with declared state patients and how to manage them, most importantly, their treatment program, etc. So this is just one. Maybe another one, just to highlight, is the immigration section of the Department of Home Affairs that deals with deportations and how do we enhance the relationship between DCS, Home Affairs, and JIGS on taking that subject forward. So I think this is a critically important statutory obligation in terms of Section 94, as alluded to by my esteemed colleague, but it is more enhanced now in our new JIGS bill, which also brings in more emphasis on stakeholder engagements and how do we take this visitors committee forward. I'm sure this would also be in your inboxes soon once we have the bill exchanged to your offices. Judge, let me pause. I will come in a little later on the other aspects that you requested me. I'll bring in Madam Ngema to cover some of the issues, and then our colleague, Mr. D'Souza, to cover them, and then I'll deal with the last parts of what you requested me to touch on. Thank you.
Mr. CEO, Madam Chair, may I just also ask Mr. D'Souza to deal with Honourable Mr. Niaus's question about how we categorize our ratings. Forgive me, Madam Ngema, please go ahead. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Inspecting Judge. I will answer the question on why our unannounced inspections on the second quarter are fewer. During the second quarter of the performance cycle under report, there were strict austerity measures that were issued by the National Treasury at that time. Those few 8 that were conducted was just before the austerity measures were issued. And also, I'd like to highlight the fact that the execution of these unannounced inspections depends on the availability of funding and also the availability of managers, because this is one function that is conducted by our MenCo managers. Due to other activities of JIT, sometimes we won't get the teams that we would like to dispatch to do this unannounced inspection. So it depends mostly on the funding. But during the previous year, we had austerity measures in place that we could not do certain aspects. And with regard to the RDs awaiting trial, according to our understanding, these are people who have not been to court and tried, not that they are ongoing hearings. They have not seen a court to be tried for the offences they are incarcerated for. So those were the numbers we gave for the RDs that are awaiting trial. With regards to us only reporting on the issues that we establish from the correctional centers and not having any action plan, I think mostly it depends on the mandate, because our mandate is to report, and also we do not have capacity to do certain things. And with regards to the disciplinary actions, we currently do not have any powers, but as the IJ have alluded to earlier, that our draft bill, or when it becomes enacted, it gives us that leeway that we can recommend disciplinary actions to be taken against those officials whom we have found wanting in terms of our investigations, so that once the draft bill is enacted into law, at least we will have that power to recommend disciplinary actions against the officials. There was also a comment or a question on bulk medication. What we normally hear from DCS when we conduct our inspections is that they do not have enough staff to attend to providing inmates. If they have to take 3 pills 3 times a day, there won't be that person who's going to give them 3 times a day. So they will give them in bulk so that they can take their pills as and when it is necessary for them to do so. And we have on our previous report highlighted this issue, that it's very concerning, because we see the suicide from taking overdose of medication is always increasing in our correctional facilities, and the issue is this of issuing medication in bulk. And there was a question also on the medical treatment, the issues that we might also have undiscovered. Yes, we have received a lot of complaints where some inmates are not getting the medical attention they require. I do remember that in a previous year or so, there was one female in Johannesburg, the IJ and our Miss Mukari, who facilitated that she gets medical attention because she had cervical cancer, and our intervention as JITS assisted her to obtain the medical attention she required, and she did get it. By the time she was released from the correctional center, she was fine. So we do make those interventions, and there is one issue we identified during the conduct of our unannounced inspections in one center in Springbok, where there had not been a medical nurse for months, and the inmates are admitted to the center and nobody is assessing them upon admission. So that matter also we are trying to intervene on, because it cannot be that an inmate coming from outside, probably with certain other communicable diseases, is not assessed before joining the rest of the community that is inside the center. The chair had asked, what do we do once we have received complaints from the inmates? You might have noted, Chair, that we deal with complaints parallel with the Directorate Regional Management. It depends what complaint it is. We divide our complaint as urgent and non-urgent complaints. The urgent complaints are handled by the complaints unit that is within the Directorate Legal Services. But those complaints like a request for transfer, request for toiletries are dealt with by the ICCV in the regional level, because it's easy to engage on such. But once we received a complaint, it could be a non-urgent or urgent complaint, we get an ROC, which is a record of consultation, where the inmate is explaining what kind of help she is requiring. And then we approach the head of that relevant correctional center, and then we get a a feedback from the head of center and then provide that feedback to the inmates. But we are also aware that once the inmates have not gotten what they were expecting to get, they treat that complaint as an unresolved complaint, like maybe JICS did not do what it was supposed to do, like we do not have powers to transfer inmates. The head of center has to see to it whether the circumstances permit that such inmates be transferred to that desired center an inmate would love to go to. And with regards to how we determine a natural and unnatural death, it is not JICS making a determination. All deaths are reported to JICS by DCS, and the doctor would have made that determination whether it's natural or unnatural. Sometimes it do happen that a death that was unnatural is changed to a natural death once there is a postmortem saying that no, it was actually a natural death, but DCS would have identified that death as unnatural. For instance, where a seemingly healthy inmate just drops dead, and they will say it's unnatural other because it will not have been determined. But what we are reporting is exactly what we have received as reported from the department. I will pause there, CEO and IJ, and allow Leonard to come on how we evaluate the centers, and also the issue as to why we prefer, we conduct more of the announced visits over the unannounced visits. Thank you.
Mr. D'Souza. Thank you, CEO. Good morning, Honorable Chair and members. So why, first of all, why unannounced inspections and announced? So there's a difference is that our announced inspections are planned for and a year in advance. We intend to inspect all correctional centers once in a 2-year cycle. Those inspections are conducted by our inspectors who are appointed specifically to inspect and investigate. It's not only just a walkthrough, but it's a very intensive inspection where we also check the registers, the records. We do interviews with officials, we do interviews with inmates, and we ask the head all sorts of questions. We will, for example, see if everything, all the fire equipment are in order and things like that. While the inspections that are done by our own managers and the inspecting judge are always unannounced. We call that the unannounced inspection part. We do plan for the inspections or try to plan for it financially, but we don't have a specific center in mind when we do our planning, because the center is informed, or the name of the center is informed by our inspections or by maybe a complaint or maybe a thematic thing that we want to investigate. Those are generally a little bit more shorter inspections. We concentrate on site visits, and we also check on the findings and recommendations that were made in the previous inspection to see if the center has improved or if it has not improved. Then regarding how we go about to do our good, satisfactory or unsatisfactory ratings, we have an inspection tool. There are 8 areas in general that we look at. For example, we examine the hospital, the kitchen. We also look at whether there were programs, that rehabilitation programs. We look at the complaint system. We look at if the professional staff is adequate for the number of inmates. We look at the overcrowding, and also how the record keeping is. I think that's about it. Then maybe just a last thing from me. There was a question on Mangaung. Yes, we are aware. Yes, we already investigated this case. We had a little bit of an issue in obtaining the post-mortem report because the SAPS didn't want to give it, but with the intervention of the judge, we got it. I received our preliminary report on it this morning. I went through it, and it seems like from that report that the death of this inmate was actually as a result of the actions of the officials. And just the last thing, there was also a question on how many deaths at the private center at Mangaung. I think in the past 3 years, there were one suspicious death that we investigated that turned out to be natural, one suicide, and now this case. Thank you very much. I think that's it for me.
Well, thank you, Judge. Thank you, Madam Gema, and thank you, Mr. D'Souza. So, Judge, Honorable Chair, and Honorable Members, it goes back to the excessive use of force, and how far does the one take this excessive use of force, resulting in fatalities, and that we would display in our report up and coming, which is Mangaung coupled with Goodwood, etc. In time to come, you would see this. What is the result of the excessive use of force under the conditions? I think that's the one aspect of Mangaung. Coming back to announced and unannounced, Judge, we have already approved 150 announced inspections for the year. This is already released. But coupled with that, we have included 72 unannounced, as guided by the Honorable Chair and members of this esteemed committee. So it brings us to a total of 222 inspections covered over a cycle of 12 months, visiting almost 222 centers out of 243, which leaves us with only 21 centers as a shortfall. So, Judge, I think this is absolutely an achievement under the circumstances that we have a vacancy rate of 179, which is unfunded positions. And let me record, a few weeks ago, we were with the esteemed committee. We've actually presented our organizational structure and the challenges that we face. We've been advised by Treasury that we need to ensure that this 179 vacant positions are considered during the MTEF period and during the budgeting process. So, Judge, we put in a place, Honorable Chair, we put in a plan of action together with our budget coach from National Treasury to target certain specific positions, as already alluded to this esteemed committee, of how do we get the necessary capacitation, especially an investigative arm of jigs, so that we can get going with much more sophisticated, complex, and difficult investigations. The guide is the inspection tool. When we get to a correctional center, the inspector has a guide, which is his inspection tool, which he shares in consultation with the head of center, in consultation, goes through this inspection tool to ensure all the areas as contained in this inspection tool is covered, like the kitchen, like the hospital, like the overcrowding, like the conditions, and it goes on to infrastructure, etc., which is contained in this inspection tool, so that the head of center is well aware of all the shortcomings that have been identified during the course of the assessment, and then an inspection report is generated and shared with the head of center to respond accordingly on the shortcomings identified. So therefore, Judge, Honorable Chair, you would find in the National Inspection Plan, we have also highlighted when this center was previously inspected, what was its rating, and what brought about this rating was whether it was satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and obviously good. So I think that's one of the areas that we are also testing our centers on. The bulk medication, Judge, I think it has been covered by Madam Ngema. We have few citations in our both quarter reports. It's contained under our investigations overdose, where they swallow a whole bulk of tablets, and then we find them a couple of minutes later, they have collapsed and died. There's one based on lithium overdose. It's actually on page 16 of our quarter 2 report. It happened in Durban Medium A. It's lithium poisoning. It happened in Durban Medium A, and this matter is ongoing and currently being investigated by Mr. D'Souza and his team. Judge, the state patients, I think it has always been an issue for us. We've tried to respond, bringing in even the Chief Justice to address this matter with the heads of courts and also with the lower judiciary, and this has taken place. We've received communication from the Chief Justice on how she is engaging the judiciary on dealing with the matter, as you have already alluded to. Our budget. Now, one would see that we had been allocated a budget of 114,607,000 over this performance cycle. It has been recorded over Q2 and Q3 on our spending trends, but what is of highlight is that we were still under the Department of Correctional Services operating as a program, sub-program in Program 1. Now, Honorable Chair, it has been a year of transition. The year 2024-2025 in our annual report, you will notice that this year has been a year of transition because we were still trying to find our feet despite the fact that we were proclamated 1 April, which came into effect on 1 December last year. We still had to get all the operating systems into place, and DCS had to take us by hand to ensure that we have all the transversal operating systems. Now, one might notice that there is a slight underspending on goods and services, specifically in relation to the Section 42 transfer of funds from DCS. What is the reason for this is that those payments in terms of Section 42 were still effected by DCS, infrastructure unit or branch. All our leased properties, our utility bills, etc., for the current financial year 2024-2025 was still affected by DCS. And therefore, you would find that that part of our budget still resided within DCS, and which will be reconciled when we get to you to present our 2024-2025 budget, which is also contained in our fourth quarter and which will be released soon. Judge, I think broadly we have spent almost 91% of our current budget. The balance of that money is actually tied up in that Section 42 transfer, and therefore you would find a slight underspending, but I guess that would be what we would call reconciled with the CFO of DCS once they have finalized their financial statements and their financials. I'll pause, Judge. I'll hand back over to you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Madam Chair, we don't imagine that we've answered everything satisfactorily, but may I give three small, not anecdotes, but items just to cheer us all up. The first is that Ms. Ngema mentioned an absolutely tragic case that came to our attention, an inmate who, it turned out, was suffering from untreated cervical cancer. The anguish that Jix felt was because we know that properly diagnosed and with early intervention, cervical cancer is very well manageable. But the good news is the one that Madam Ngema conveyed, and I want to mention here in public the Professor Duvern Ramia, who is the head of oncology at Charlotte Maxeke Hospital in Johannesburg. The moment we wrote to him, I don't even think he took a day to reply. He said, I will attend to this inmate. And that is the kind of public spirit that makes one proud to be a South African. The second aspect, Madam Chair, with your indulgence, relates to an interesting observation that the Honourable Mr. Niehaus made. He speaks about what we prevent. Now, we are a Mandela-era institution from 1998. It was President Mandela's personal idea that there should be an independent agency to oversee the operation of prisons and the conditions of prisoners. And I think that your member, Honourable Niehaus, has it right. And I want to give an anecdote. Our head of Eastern Cape, Mrs. Justine Gierke, whose husband is a member of your partner committee, select committee in the National Council of Provinces, she noted that Where we have independent correctional centre visitors, the monitors, the rate of violence, inmate on personnel, personnel on inmate, inmate on inmate, goes down. Now that underscores what your members have said about how important it is for us to get that little bit of extra judgment so that we can be sure. We need 40 more monitors. They're not paid the earth, that they are the kind of hands-on specialists that we need to make budget for. Where they are present at a center, they go there every day, even if just for a few hours, the rate of violence goes down. Conversely, where there's no ICCD at a center, we notice an increase. Now, that is a ripe area for a master's thesis or a doctoral thesis to test methodologically what Mrs. Gericke observes. I think that she is absolutely right. The last thing, also with your indulgence, ma'am, if I may, two good news is about solitary confinement. You know that JICS has long taken the view since my predecessor that what is occurring at eBongweni and Pretoria CMAX is unlawful, unconstitutional, in violation of international norms, that people are kept too long without meaningful human contact within the international definition of solitary confinement, which is not permitted by the statute. First of all, under the National Commissioner, Mr. Makgoti Tobukale, and Area Commissioner Khoza, in charge of the prison cluster at Pretoria, there's been a psychosocial intervention. There's a social worker and therapist who heads the unit, Ms. Zodwa Khadebe, who has done an extraordinary program. I won't, DCS can report that to you, but JICS is heartened that the people being kept in confinement and isolation at Pretoria CMAX are now receiving individual therapy and group therapies. So I asked Ms. Khadebe, how many? She said, well, 10 or 11. I said, is there a personnel member present? No. I leave it there. It's most remarkable what Ms. Khadebe and her team have achieved. Last bit, and thank you for giving me this time, madam. We are also heartened that eBongweni, there's an acting head of eBongweni, Mr. Daniels. Out of the blue, he asks us for books. We started a donation program, which we'd like your members to contribute to. We have logistical difficulty in distributing the books. NICRO, an important NGO, has been helping us with that. But Mr. Daniels asked for book donations to eBongweni, and I say, hallelujah. Thank you, madam. Thank you for allowing me to add those little tales on.
Thank you so much, Judge Cameron, with your team in responding to clarities and questions posed by members. Members, were all questions that you asked all answered? If they are not answered, can you kindly raise your hands to indicate which questions that you would have posed that are not answered? Honorable Carl, Honorable Ngaba, you will follow. Unmute yourself, Honorable Carl.
Thank you, Chair. I was battling to get myself unmuted. I would like to thank Mr. Justice Cameron and also the team for having responded quite extensively to the issues that we've raised. I have a follow-up on the question that I asked about the situation at...
Honorable Carl, I'm asking for questions that are not answered now.
Okay.
Follow-ups will come back to them. The first thing is questions that were all your questions that you posed, all answered.
Okay, let me just then say the following. With regards to the situation at Mangaung and what happened where, we heard from the CEO, the response that he has a report, what follows now on the basis of that report. And Chair, if you can indulge me, I just want to pick up on what Justice Cameron said about books donations. I'd really like to urge anyone, also those who may be listening and watching this particular broadcast, to donate books. I myself, as I've said before many times, have been a political prisoner for almost 10 years. And I know that one of the things that truly kept me sane was the access to books. And I was in the very fortunate position that there were a book collection that was put together by political prisoners before me. And one of the people who contributed to that collection was Bram Fischer. So I have some very, very beautiful memories of reading some of the books that Advocate Bram Fischer, with his wisdom, had required from the Department of Correctional Services and from donations to put in that small library that we had. It is truly a huge contribution to the well-being and the sanity of prisoners to have access to good reading material. And if we can urge anyone to make contributions to books, we truly should do so. I'll keep my other follow-up question for later. Thank you, Chair.
Mrs. Ngaba?
Chair, my questions were answered, but not satisfactory. Nevertheless, I'm happy to save it as, group it as follow-ups when you're ready for that.
Anyone whose questions was not answered? Honorable Sokopo, I see you have unmuted.
Yes, Chair, I think I would follow Honorable Ngaba to say probably it was answered, but not to my satisfactory. And when you give us an opportunity, I will come back.
Okay, thank you. I made an exception when Comrade Carl had spoken, but anything that needs to be reiterated and made a follow-up on, it will come on follow-ups, colleagues. The first point after the JICS or the department has responded to clarities or questions that would have posed is to get a sense that all questions that members has asked have been answered, so that we don't leave the meeting with questions of members that have not been answered. That's the first point of us starting on issues of follow-ups and clarities. Then the second point will be a follow-up that would want to make on our questions, whether we're satisfied or we're not satisfied with how we got the responses, or if there's a new questions that you would want outside the response that the department or either JICSA would have made, so that we don't confuse the process, colleagues. So I made that exception with Honorable Carl, but now I want us to be able to differentiate between questions that are not answered and follow-ups, so that we don't repeat it even in coming portfolio committee meetings. So I'll request for follow-ups or any new questions that you might have that was preempted by the responses that you received. I'll note hands.
Please note me, Chair.
Honorable Sokopo, you'll start. Mrs. Ngaba, you'll follow. And Honorable Carl, you will be the last. Anyone who has problems of raising their hands? You can proceed, Honorable Sokopo, in that sequence.
Thank you, Chair. Judge Cameron have made some pointers, or he have raised issues to responding to my question about the HR matters. But I think it will just be fair, instead of him asking me to ask him if I want to talk to it, whether it's in writing or what. I think he acknowledges that there are certain challenges. What would have been appreciative from my side is for him to give a report on incidents that took place that are kind of these issues that I have raised, in particular on issues of senior managers. And then we can have that as a debate when he comes back to this committee. Chair, I was not satisfied with the question, because my questions are always specific. I ask why was there an increase of unannounced, and what have that yielded, the result yielded by these unannounced? I mean, there is a purpose. I take it from us as a committee. There is an intention for us to do an unannounced because we want to yield a particular result. And in most cases, Chair, you would know that we then get to where we want to. So to say, no, there was not enough time here, we did 8, then the more we do, what have you achieved to do the unannounced? I think, Chair, let me stop there.
Thank you, Honorable Sokobo. Mrs. Ngaba?
Thank you, Chair. Mine also relates to inspections. I mean, the name of the entity is the Judicial Inspectorate. I would expect that the focus is on inspections. So my one question is, how many inspectors are there? Because, and the Chair can attest that I am perpetually asking, hi Chair, I'm going here tomorrow. Hi Chair, I'm going there tomorrow. Between October and December, I did 14 prison visits. That is with a full-time job. I'm not employed by the Inspectorate. So if you just had 4 people working at my rate, you could visit all the prisons in a year. So I'm not understanding, I don't understand why the rate at which they are covering them. And the judge invited me to press him, so I will. Judge Cameron, you had 2 inspections over the 2 quarters, that's 6 months, right? I accept your point that you go where the CEO indicates to you, but are you not pressing them to give you more? And this is very much an opportunity to, if I have a misconception about the role of the inspecting judge and what else is on your plate, please do clarify. But to me, it seems like 2 visits in 6 months is unduly low. And then again, perhaps this is an iteration of Honorable Sokopo's question. So I understand that there's the schedule of the scheduled visits. That doesn't mean you need to give the whole schedule to DCS ahead of time. You can still make your schedule, but keep it between the CEO, the judge, and Mr. D'Souza until the time so that DCS doesn't have advance notice. I don't understand why they need to be scheduled visits as opposed to be unannounced visits. So why is it happening like that? Why is the schedule dominated by scheduled rather than unannounced visits?
Thank you, Mrs. Ngaba. Honorable Carl?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. 3 issues. The first one is we were told that there is a particular set of tools that are being used for the categorization of satisfactory and unsatisfactory facilities. We were given a generalized summary of what those tools are. I would love for JICS to provide us with that tool so that we can have a look at it. I'm sure that from our own experience, we may be able to highlight certain areas that need to be included, that need to be concentrated on, that they then can include in that tool in order to make it more user-friendly and also more effective. I wasn't entirely clear about the answer that we received on the issue of announced and unannounced visits, because I heard Mr. Justice Cameron saying that he's got some reasons why it happens like this, but I didn't get his answer, because I'm still continuing to be rather skeptical about what the achievements of announced visits will be in the context of one's own experience that announced visits every so often leads to a situation where the scene is prepared for the visit and therefore one doesn't get to the bottom of the issue. And then, yeah, I think those are the issues that I thought, yes. And then the last question or point that I wanted to make, is it not possible to get an instruction issued by the Department of Correctional Services that there will be no bulk medication issued, regardless of the fact that there are staff shortages? We honestly can't allow bulk medication to be issued to prisoners. The consequences are clear in terms of the number of them that commit suicide with having access to such bulk medication. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Carl. I take it there is no member that wants to speak that is struggling with their mic. Judge Cameron, those are follow-ups questions from members. I hand over to you and your team to respond to them.
Many thanks. I will start with myself, Madam Chair, and I thank the members who, Ms. Naba, Mr. Sukopo, and Mr. Niehaus for their follow-up questions. The first point that I would like to make is that a whole range of enormously freighted and delicate issues were referred to the Public Service Commission for an investigation, which they did with enormous rigor and probing. All of our processes, our procurement processes, our relocation processes, our appointment processes, and on almost all those issues, JICS was given a clean bill of health. I take Ms. Naba's point that it wasn't a stainless and immaculate bill of health, but overwhelmingly it was. And we have taken one follow-up action and one consideration, which I've already indicated. There was also one follow-up action for the chair of an appointment committee, which we took as suggested by the PSC. Second, I want to thank Ms. Naba as well for all the inspections she's done, and I'm going to ask Ms. Ngema and Mr. D'Souza to come in there as well. Ms. Naba isn't on accountability here, but I'm not entirely sure that the inspections that she's been able to do would conform with the rigor and exhaustiveness and the detailed reporting lines, which every single inspection that JICS inspectors and ICCDs and I myself do. So I also take your point and thank you for raising it. I am on the line here. You said that my inspection rate is unduly low. I didn't realize that the 2 quarters under reporting now had only 2. I thought there were more. But may I assure you that in the last 6 weeks or so, from the end of March, I spent 2 days at Durban Westville. I've been to Pretoria CMAX twice, including a meeting with Ms. Zodwa Khadebe and her entire team. I visited Pretoria Central, and I visited the Women's Gender Responsive Centre. So in the last, I don't know if I'm exaggerating, 6 or 7 weeks, I've been on many, many more visits. But I'm not being apologetic. If you say it's unduly low, I take that with humility, and I thank you for the reproof. And if there are socks that require to be pulled up, Ms. Naba, I will pull them up. I'm going to ask Ms. Ngema, the CEO, Mr. D'Souza. I just have one further comment to make. Mr. Niehaus, I started visiting prisons in 1995, and I have been on many unannounced visits. I've been on announced visits. My own philosophy, which I appreciate may not please members of the committee, is that it doesn't actually make a huge difference. Maybe they sweep the kitchen floor and wash the walls a bit more. But we see our job as not cooperative with DCS, but as interactive with it. We see our visits as being welcomed by the inmates and by the personnel. The personnel want to show us what the Department of Public Works has not fixed. They want to show us the damp draining down the walls. They want to show us the overcrowding because they're dealing with it. The 30,000+ personnels, we've never blamed them for what is wrong in the prison system because they are victims as much as inmates are. We acknowledge there's corruption sometimes rampant, but we don't see our inspection role as adversarial. My own philosophy, and Mr. D'Souza will give his philosophy, and the CEO and Ms. Ngema will give their philosophy, is that it doesn't make an enormous difference whether you announce or don't announce. You're not going to surprise DCS personnel by arriving in the middle of the night unless you have information that there's a particular assault or cruelty going on. I did that as an advocate many years ago. We got an order to visit a certain police station. We actually found instruments of torture, as was alleged by some detainees. So there is a role for unannounced inspections. I have reservations about it. Thank you for allowing me to say that. Thank you for asking me, Mr. Niehaus. And I asked the CEO, I asked Ms. Ngema, and I asked Mr. D'Souza and other colleagues to come in.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. I think let's request Madam Ngema, as she presented this quarter 2 and quarter 3 reports, to come in firstly, and then Mr. D'Souza, and then I'll see where I can wrap some of these questions up. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, CEO. I'll attend one question from Honorable Sokopo about what results have we yielded when we conduct those unannounced inspections. I'm going to start by saying that the object of the Judicial Inspectorate is to conduct and then report on the treatment of inmates. Hence, we are here reporting and have finished the portfolio committee with the reports and the ministers. But over and above that, when we do conduct those unannounced inspections, there are situations we find in centers that we are able to rectify them there and there because these are managers conducting these inspections and are more experienced. Like, for instance, in one instance in Ebongweni, we find one inmate who was in his cell with a catheter bag on him. And he was saying that he's embarrassed. Inmates are laughing at him. They are saying all these nasty things. And before we left the center, we had arranged that he be moved to a hospital, and he was moved. There was an instance where the inspecting judge went to Durban Westville, and the inmates were complaining that they have nothing to entertain themselves. And there and there, he arranged for a donor to donate a pool table for those inmates. So there are those instances where we resolve most of the inmates' complaints as we are attending these unannounced inspections. So there are results, but mostly it's for us to check whether there are any ameliorations, because mostly we follow up on those centers that were reported unsatisfactory. That is why even on our reporting, we do indicate that on 3 consecutive times, this center has been rated unsatisfactory. So we do a report on these things, and those are the achievements, and also that it enlarge our what's the word, CEO? Because we only schedule 150. So we are able to say that the number has increased. But also, as I indicated earlier, that it mostly depends on the availability of funds, which we do not have. So I think that will be all from my side as CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Ngema. Mr. D'Souza.
Thank you very much, CEO. Let me start maybe with the number of inspectors and their work. So we currently have 9 positions, of which 8 are filled, and 1 person is due to retire in June, so we will soon have 7. I think there are plans in place to replace those 2 people. I must just also say that these 9 people are based all over the country in our regional offices. They don't only do inspections, they also do all our investigations. They also do extensive report writing on each and every inspection and each and every investigation. They do their own administration. They organize their own trips. They also, on a regular basis, follow up on our findings and recommendations. And then they even sometimes assist with complaints where the region asks them, and chairing some meetings as well. So that is the state of our inspectors, who are also investigators. Then the Honorable Neo's tools, we will definitely provide those tools. It is not a secret, we can do it. If you want to, we'll also provide our SOP, our standard operating procedure, so that you can have a look at it. Lastly, I think there was also just a request for more information on Mangaung. As I said, I received a preliminary report this morning. So we are still busy investigating that case. Our CCTV, the CCTV footage, for example, that they gave us is about 40 gigabytes big, large. They dumped all the videos on us, so we are still going through the videos to see if we can see what happened. And then also some interviews are outstanding. The officials who were arrested, the Mangaung officials who were arrested and who are currently suspended, we are still trying to get them. And then also our G4S report, because we need to tell them, or they need to tell us what they think what happened, as well as the Department of Correctional Services reports are still outstanding. So we still have a long way to go, but we will definitely report it as soon as we are finished. We'll report it in our next quarter or the Q1 report. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Mr. D'Souza, Judge, Honorable Chair, and Honorable members. In fact, Honorable Judge as well. Yes, Judge, the reports, all these reports will be actually canvassed in our Q1 report, which is currently unfolding now as I speak to you, and will show shed more light on the subject. But just to touch a little bit on unannounced inspection versus announced inspections. When we go, Chair, Honorable Chair, you have been subjected to this. It's like a mop and shine and clean up because they know we're coming. And the dust is moved and whatnot, and furniture is cleaned up, etc. But the unannounced inspection gives you a more bird's eye view of what is actually occurring on the spot at that time, and it's reported accordingly. Now, Mr. D'Souza has indicated that let's share the inspection tool. It's a comprehensive document that is used by an inspector to test all areas of their work. Now, what also is very interesting, and Honorable Chair, Honorable members should note, is that we have also a one judge, one jail tool, which judges utilize when they conduct, from time to time, visits to correctional centers. There's also another enhanced tool, which we have also developed for the lower judiciary, and where magistrates have been also brought on board to utilize a inspection tool so that it makes it easier and to standardize the reporting methods of how these visits and inspections are either conducted by the judiciary, whether it's the judges or whether it's the lower judiciary. I think that's also we can make available, Honorable Chair, so that these tools are in your inboxes, and you can also reflect on them, how these various components are conducting visits and assessments. The inspections is actually contained in our APP. It's one of our targets. You would have already reflected on it in our APP. It is costed, it's budgeted to Treasury. So there is got to be some form of indication of how many inspections are we to conduct annually. And a target has been set at 150. So 150 over a performance cycle, that is already costed, and therefore we get funding towards this aspect of our work, coupled with also indicating to Treasury a yardstick of a number of proposed unannounced inspections, which totals up to approximately 77. So this also is taken into consideration when we do our budgeting process together with National Treasury for our funding. Judge, I think I've answered the questions to the best of my ability, and through my team, I hand over back to you. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you, Honourable Members. Thank you, Honourable Judge.
We thank you and your members again, Madam Chair.
I was struggling to unmute. Thank you so much for the responses that you made. Members, were your follow-ups answered? Honorable Sokopo Ngaba and Honorable Carl, were the follow-ups you made answered?
Thank you, Chair. As far as I'm concerned, my follow-ups were answered. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I'll take the silence. Mrs. Ngaba, I see you have unmuted.
I just didn't hear how many inspectors there are, but otherwise I'm covered.
Thank you. Honorable Judge, are you able to respond to what Mrs. Ngaba has said?
I think that Mr. D'Souza, unless I misunderstood him, said that there are 9 posts, of which 8 are filled, with 1 retiring shortly. Mr. D'Souza, did I understand you correctly, or did I mishear what you were answering to?
100% correct, IJ.
So may I just say that Mr. D'Souza, with Ms. Ngema's support, has also asked, thank you, Ms. Ngaba, for your signification. He's also asked other office staff who are not appointed as inspectors to get involved. So we are involving the judiciary. That item was also on the heads of court meeting, taken there by Chief Justice Maya, to expand judicial visits, because every judge and every magistrate within their jurisdiction have power to visit a correctional centre at any time and to see every part of that centre. So we're expanding them within our own cadre of staff and within the judiciary. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Judge Cameron, and thank you for your delegation as led by you, the CEO and the entire team, for taking us through the second quarter and the third quarter performance report. And we're hopeful that when you do come for the first quarter, as indicated by the CEO, you would be able to expand on a lot of issues that members would have highlighted on and which are still pending whilst you try to sort them out on your side. On the issue of Mangaung, the death of an inmate, Mkumbeni, in Mangaung Correctional Facility, we did make an indication in the last portfolio committee when JICS appeared, which was led by the CEO, which was a physical meeting, that we are expecting JICS to give us a detailed report on the matter. And this is not only on Mangaung, also on the death of an inmate in Goodwood Correctional Facility. We have the report on Goodwood Correctional Facility. We are still waiting for the final report on Mangaung. And once we've gotten hold of the final report of Mangaung, both JICS and the department will appear before the portfolio committee on both the death of the 2 inmates in Mangaung and Goodwood Facility. So for now, you would have to work on your reports, work on how you're going to engage with the portfolio committee on the findings of both this death of the inmates. So until then, once we all have received that final report, you will be expected through you, Judge Cameron, to lead the delegation to come before the portfolio committee to speak on the 2 deaths, which are unnatural deaths. Like members have made an indication and agreeing highly with Mrs. Ngaba that JICS needs to improve on unannounced visit. JICS can be operating like a portfolio committee where we need to alert the department in certain centers that we are coming for an oversight visit. So we are expecting that you should be able to do unannounced visit. If not more as often, but you need to improve on them. Mrs. Ngaba would have done 14 visits, apart from the workload of Parliament that she has. So those who are designated or ICCVs, they should be able to employ more of those. We understand there are logistical areas that you need to work on. For you to be able to do that unannounced, you need the department to open up for you in those correctional facilities. Whilst you still try to tighten up those areas, we do suggest or make a recommendation that you need to improve on those unannounced. And that goes to yourself, Judge Cameron, through the CEO tasking you to which centers that you need to go to. You need to tighten that belt to make sure that at least in the next quarter report that you come, the reports on your visits would have gone up from the 2 that you have given us. Because of outside us not being able to have oversight visit, we do rely on JICS to be able to come us and give us an opposite view of what the department gives us. Like, for instance, we were scheduled in June to have an oversight visit as the portfolio committee. But with the issue of budget going from 0.1, 0.2 now to 0.3, has made sure that programming to take out that slot for an oversight visit for the portfolio committee. So meaning in this second term, we will not be able to do an oversight in any facility because the program is congested on its own. So we do rely on JICS to be able to give us a real sense of what is happening in correctional facilities. But if you're unable to conduct visits, then you are unable to give us that sense that we require. Then it means we become reliant on the department, and we cannot be reliant on the department on the overall operations of correctional facilities. So that is another recommendation that we're putting to yourself. The RDs that are waiting trial, especially those who have 2 years, as Mrs. Ngema would have expatiated on, it's a worrying factor that we need to urgently look into. Sia and Matabata, let's work on inviting the Department of Justice to the portfolio committee to speak amongst these other matters. Matabata, you will highlight other areas as well that we need to bring the Department of Justice to speak on outside the RDs that are waiting trial for more than 2 years, and those who are having bails as less than 1,000 rands, on their role in terms of the judiciary and how they can assist us to mitigate the issues of overcrowding and also to deal with the core issue. You can't have inmates sitting in a correctional facility for 2 years and you don't know whether are they still expected to appear in court or not, and nothing gets to be done about it. So we would need to take this matter urgently, and this matter lies with the Department of Justice together with Correctional to see how this can be fast-tracked. The issue of transfers, classification, as Mrs. Ngema would have spoken to, I think outside us leaving that aspect to ICCVs, because of it will be the head of center that would be entirely taking a decision whether to transfer an inmate to a particular center they would want or desire, but equally let the head office or the investigation team unit that deals with urgent investigations or urgent matters that are before them also take up this matter so that it does not become a matter of favorism or any other. We've had the report the last time that JICS appeared before the portfolio committee that there would have been an ICCV member or employee that would have gotten into a relationship with an inmate. So we wouldn't want not necessarily an investigation, but a matter to say an inmate needs to be transferred based on those relations. So it must be through urgent matters that requires an inmate to say they need to be transferred, unlike leaving it to ICCVs, especially with such reports that we got from the team that appeared before the portfolio committee with the relations to ICCVs, not lauding all ICCVs, but that few that does illegal things leaves us to ponder and worry whether the process that gets to be taken, especially that affects inmates that they get to be in relation with, is it legit or genuine, or it's outside the relations that they would have gotten into. So those are recommendations and submissions that we would have made to your team, bearing in mind that your first quarter, when you come back, you would have refined on what honorable members would have made recommendations and clarities, so that when you come back, you would then give an overall, or it touches on overall report on everything that they would have spoken to. I'm not sure if you have any parting words, Judge Cameron, before we can close the meeting.
Just to reiterate our appreciation and to say that everything that you have said and everything that your members have raised, they're all taken in good part. We will reflect on them and, as you indicated, will consider further action and follow-up action, and we express our appreciation to everyone again.
Thank you so much, Judge Cameron, and thank you again for gracing us, leading the delegation of JICS to appear before the Portfolio Committee in presenting the second and third quarter report. I would also like to have an appreciation done to Honorable Engelbrecht for taking the Portfolio Committee last week in my absence. I have been having a very, very bad flu, hence my absence in the Portfolio Committee last week. So highly appreciate Engelbrecht for chipping in and taking the work of the Portfolio Committee forward in my absence. So thank you so much to JICS and the delegation for coming through, members as well. The meeting therefore stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members. Bye-bye.
Bye, CEO.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye. Sia, let's remain with Matabata.
The chair,
Let's remain Matabata.
Can everyone exit, please?
Recording stopped.
Long live the chair.